Welcome back to SkillSpark. I'm James. You've explored the foundations and the building blocks of AI. Now, in our final part, we look to the future. We'll tackle advanced topics like AI ethics and the future of your job, moving from how AI works to what it means for our world. Ready to take the next step? Let's spark some final skills.
All right, so you've probably asked an AI to write an email or maybe even a poem, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're going to go way deeper. We're talking about the really advanced stuff that's changing everything, from AIs that can actually see and hear to what your job might look like in a few years. So yeah, let's jump right in. Okay, here's the plan. We'll start with how AI is getting new senses. Think sight and sound. Then we'll get into the heavy stuff, the idea of an AI conscious. After that, we'll uncover the ghosts in the machine, why AI sometimes just makes stuff up. Then we'll look at how AI is becoming your co-pilot at work. And to wrap it all up, we'll show you how to go from just using AI to actually building with it, even if you can't code. Sound good? All right, first up, AI's new senses. You know, for the longest time, AI was all about text. It was a word machine. Well, that's completely changed. That whole era is basically over. So what if an AI could do more than just read your prompts? What if it could actually see the photo you're showing it or hear the song you're listening to and really get how it all fits together? I mean, it sounds like something out of a movie, right? But it's not. This is happening right now, and it's a huge leap forward. The official term for this is multimodal AI. And really, the key word there is multi. It means the AI isn't just stuck in one lane, like text. It can handle multiple types of information at once. Text, images, sound, you name it. It's about combining all these different streams of data to get a way richer picture of what's going on. It's like having eyes and ears, not just a brain that reads. And the difference is, well, it's huge. Just look at this. On one side, you've got unimodal AI. Think of older models like BERT. Great at one thing, like text, but totally blind to anything else. It's a specialist. But on the other side, you've got the new multimodal stuff, like GPT-4 with Vision or Google's Gemini. These are the game changers. Their big advantage is that they get the full picture. You could literally snap a photo of what's in your fridge, show it to the AI, and ask, hey, what can I make with this? That's something a text-only AI could never do. Now the catch? This stuff is super complex and takes an insane amount of computing power to run. And one of the biggest names in this space right now is Google's Gemini. What's so special about it is that it wasn't just a text model that they bolted some image features onto later. No, Gemini was built from day one to be multimodal. You could say it was kind of born with the ability to think across images, sound, and words all at the same time. And wow, the results speak for themselves. Their most powerful version, Gemini Ultra, did something incredible. It was the first AI ever to actually beat human experts on something called the MMLU benchmark. Now, you can think of MMLU as this ridiculously hard final exam that covers 57 different subjects, everything from law to medicine to computer science. So for an AI to outperform human experts on that, that's not just a small improvement. It's a massive, fundamental leap in what AI can do. Okay, so AI is getting super powerful, but with great power comes great responsibility, right? It's one thing to build an AI that's smart, but it's a whole other challenge to build one that's good. And that brings us to our next really important topic, creating an AI conscious. Look, AI ethics can get really complicated really fast. But for now, let's just focus on three huge challenges that pretty much everyone agrees on: bias, privacy, and figuring out who's accountable when things go wrong. So first up is bias. Here's the thing. AI learns from data that we humans create. And let's be honest, our data is full of our own biases, right? The AI doesn't know any better, so it just learns those biases as fact. A classic example is in hiring. If an AI is trained on historical hiring data that shows a bias against a certain group, the AI might not just copy that bias, it might actually make it worse. It can create this nasty feedback loop that's really hard to stop. Then there's privacy. I mean, for an AI to be a truly great assistant, it has to know a lot about you. Your emails, your schedule, maybe even your conversations. But that creates a huge risk, right? What if that data gets hacked? And that leads to the third and maybe the toughest question of all. When an AI messes up, say it leaks your data or makes a biased decision, who's to blame? Is it the programmer, the company that built it, the user? Nobody has a clear answer, and it's one of the biggest puzzles we need to solve. All right, let's switch gears and talk about something, well, something a little weird. This is one of the most important things you need to understand if you're going to use these new AIs for any serious work. we're going to talk about the ghosts in the machine, or what experts call AI hallucinations. So, what exactly is an AI hallucination? It's when an AI just makes something up. It'll state something as a fact with total confidence, but it's completely false. The important thing to get is that it's not trying to lie to you. It's not malicious. It's more like it's inventing something that sounds right to fill in a gap. It's a fundamental flaw in how these things are designed, and it's a huge problem. So why does this even happen? Well, it boils down to a few key things. First, and this is the big one, large language models are designed to be master wordsmiths, not fact-checkers. Their entire goal is to predict the next most likely word in a sentence. They're just playing a super advanced game of autocomplete. They don't have a truth engine. Second, their knowledge is frozen in time. An AI trained a year ago has zero clue what happened this morning. And third, they don't actually understand cause and effect. They can tell you that a glass will shatter if you drop it, but they don't understand the physics of why. Put all that together, and you've got a recipe for making stuff up. Okay, so we've talked about some of the pitfalls. Let's pivot to something a lot more positive and, honestly, more exciting. The conversation about AI and jobs is always about, will it replace us? But that might be the wrong question. It's really about how it's going to change how we work and how it can become an amazing collaborator. I really love this quote. It hits the nail on the head. The idea isn't that AI is going to make programmers obsolete. It's that it's going to transform what it means to be a programmer. Think about it. If the AI can handle all the tedious, repetitive parts of a job, what's left? The fun stuff, the creative part, the big picture thinking, the really tough problem solving. Those uniquely human skills become even more valuable. And a great example of this in action is a new trend called vibe coding. Yeah, the name's a little goofy, but the idea behind it is super powerful. Basically, instead of painstakingly writing every single line of code, the developer acts more like a director. They just describe the vibe of the feature they want to build, using plain English, and the AI does the heavy lifting of writing the actual code. And you can see here, it's a completely different way of thinking. With traditional programming, you're down in the weeds, focusing on semicolons and syntax. But with vibe coding, you're focused on the big picture. What do I actually want this thing to do? Even fixing errors changes. Instead of debugging code, you're just having a conversation with the AI to clarify what you meant. And this isn't some far-off future thing. It's happening right now. A tool called GitHub Copilot is already being used by millions of developers. It's basically an AI pair programmer, like having a super smart assistant sitting next to you, suggesting code, finishing your sentences, and helping you out right inside your workflow. It's probably the best example we have of this Copilot future. Okay, for this last part, let's take it even further. Everything we've talked about with coding is cool, but what if you're not a coder? What if you've never written a line of code in your life? Well, the really good news is, you don't have to. We're going to look at how pretty much anyone can start building things with AI, thanks to something called no-code. No-code platforms basically take all the scary, complicated parts of building an app and make them visual and easy. It really just comes down to 3 basic steps. First, you set up a database, which can be as simple as a Google Sheet. Second, you build what the app looks like by dragging and dropping buttons and text boxes onto a canvas. And third, you create the logic. When a user clicks this button, do that thing, all with visual tools. No coding required. At all. And a really interesting platform in this space is called Lovable AI. It's designed specifically for people who can't code. Think startup founders who have a great idea but no technical team, or designers who want to bring their mock-ups to life. You can literally just describe the app you want to build in a chat, and it will start building it for you. But we have to be real about it. There are pros and cons. On the plus side, these tools are unbelievably fast for getting a first version of your idea out there, what people call an MVP. And a huge bonus is you usually get to keep and own all the code it generates. But on the downside, there can be frustrating limits. And for anything really complicated, it might only get you, say, 60 or 70% of the way there. You might still need a professional to get it over the finish line. So let's just recap. We've seen how AI is learning to see and hear like we do. We've talked about why it desperately needs a conscience, and we've seen how it's transforming from just a tool into a real creative partner, a co-pilot. The big takeaway here is that we're moving from an era of just using AI to an era of creating with AI. So the final question isn't what AI will do, it's what are you going to build with it first? Thanks so much for joining me.
Congratulations on completing our AI Foundation series. You've gone from the basics to the future, and now have the knowledge to understand this incredible technology. If this series helped you learn, Please like and subscribe to SkillSpark. Let me know in the comments what AI topic we should explore next. I'm James, reminding you to stay curious and keep sparking new skills. Bye-bye.